Well, after we had that incredible meal and got to see a little bit of Budapest, it was time for our embarkation day on our cruise. My husband and I spent the morning, we tried to sleep in, and then we went in the morning to, there was a museum right across the street from our hotel, and we got to see the history of Hungary. I didn't know there was a Hungarian history museum right across the street from us. So we got a little bit of an idea, a little bit about the history of Hungary. Of course, we learned a lot on the cruise as well. And then we had a nice meal, a nice lunch, and it was time to get an Uber to our boat, which was very exciting. And we were able to get right into our cabins. And if you watch my first video, sort of the precursor to the whole video series, you'll see a little bit about how incredible our cabin was. We were cruising on the Amadeus Imperial, that's our boat. And we were welcomed by the amazing staff and just had such a great, just getting settled in. When you go on a riverboat cruise, you get to meet the staff. That's one of the things. You have like a welcome toast and the staff gets introduced. And it was really exciting again, just to know we were taking off. Well, tonight's video is called Budapest by Night. Because of our embarkation day, we took an incredible illumination trip around the Budapest area on the Danube. And so in Budapest, they light up all of the buildings that are lining the Danube, and you just get to see an incredible city. They have bridges. So we saw several bridges on this illumination tour, and we saw the incredible Parliament building, which really spoke to me. It's just amazing architecture. And to see everything lit up, it was a beautiful night. It was a warm summer day. And again, magical moments on this cruise. And this is definitely one of them. I never knew this until I went there, but Budapest is sort of separated into two sections. One is called Buda, the other is called Pest. I'd never heard this before in my life. The Liberty or Freedom Bridge connects the Buda and the Pest across the Danube River. It was originally named the Franz Joseph Bridge after Emperor Franz Joseph. It was built between 1894 and 1896 as part of the Millennium World Exhibition. And supposedly, Emperor Franz Joseph was there when it opened. It was rebuilt following World War II. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Budapest is separated into two distinct districts, and it's separated by the Danube River. On the one side, we have the Pest side of the river, and this is a bustling area with restaurants, shops. It's a mixture of the old and the new buildings. And on the other side of the river is the Buda side. And the Buda side is known for its historic district, its castles, its high hill. We were described that the difference too was the very wealthy could live on the Buda side and the normal people lived on the Pest side. So the very first night we got to see these two very distinctly different sides. And much of the Buda side was very, very visible from the river because it is up on that high, beautiful hill. The Liberty Statue, or the Freedom Statue, was built in 1947 in remembrance of the Soviet liberation of Hungary during World War II, which ended the Nazi occupation. It is located on Gellert Hill on the Buda side of the river. The Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary is the main parish church of Budapest. Its earliest features date back to the Romanesque period in 1046. It does sit at the end of the Elizabeth Bridge. The Elizabeth Bridge again connects the Buda and the Pest sections of the city, and it is an homage to Empress Elizabeth, the wife of Franz Joseph. It was originally built between 1897 and 1903, very near to the time of the beloved Elizabeth's assassination in 1898. It was completely destroyed during World War II and significantly simplified without any ornamentation in the 1960s. Buda Castle is the historical castle and palace complex of the Hungarian kings that sits high on Castle Hill on the Buda side of the city. Earlier versions of the palace date back to 1265, but the distinctive Baroque palace that we see today was built between 1749 and 1769. It now houses the Hungarian National Gallery, the Budapest Historical Museum, and a library. The Széchenyi Chain Bridge was opened in 1849 and is anchored on the Pest side by the Széchenyi Square and the Gresham Palace. István Széchenyi was a major supporter of its construction. It was the first permanent bridge in all of Budapest, and this was another bridge that demanded reconstruction after World War II. And on the Pest side is the Gresham Palace that's been turned into a Four Seasons hotel. As we passed under the chain bridge, you get a little bit better view of Buda Castle in the background. The Matthias Church is a Catholic church in the Holy Trinity Square in the Buda Castle district. According to tradition, the first church on the site in 1015 was built by Saint Stephen, the King of Hungary. When Saint Stephen's son did not survive to succeed him, he supposedly gave the church to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and it is now known as the Church of Our Lady. The highlight of the Budapest Illumination tour is certainly the Hungarian Parliament building. It is the seat of the National Assembly of Hungary and a popular tourist destination in Budapest. It was designed in a neo-Gothic style and opened in 1902. The Parliament is quite symmetrical in its design and includes 10 courtyards, 29 staircases, and 691 rooms, with 200 offices included. There are 242 sculptures on the walls that include Hungarian rulers, famous military figures, and Transylvanian leaders. The Margaret Bridge, sometimes called the Margit, is the second oldest bridge in Budapest. It not only connects the Buda and the Pest side, but it also gives access to Margaret Island. It was first built between 1872 and 1876. The statues on the side of the bridge depict Nike, the goddess of victory, and Hercules, the protector of mankind. After we turned the boat around, we were able to see some of the same sights going back towards our dock. And we again saw the St. Matthias Church, which is up on Budapest Castle Hill. And in front of it is the Szilágyi Dezső Square Reformed Church, which was a Protestant church built in 1893. Well, our Budapest Illumination tour was incredible and such a great way to get started learning about the history of this important city in Hungary. And I enjoyed seeing all the buildings lit up. And then the next day we went on to learn a lot more about the history of each of these sites. We went to see some of the churches, got to actually see inside of some of these incredible buildings. So this was the perfect start and just a great way to begin our entire Danube River Cruise. And then the next day we had an amazing walking tour in Budapest. And we had the opportunity to see some of that incredible architecture up close and personal and learn a little bit more about the history. Thanks again for joining us.